everyone, I'm Monet Warren and welcome to the Diary of a Single Woman. So today we are starting part one of a series that I've created titled Daddy Issues. The reason I created the series instead of just doing one video is because I found myself trying to pack a lot of information into one 15-minute video. And I just really felt like I was doing this topic a disservice by addressing it in that way. And so I was like, let's just do an entire series. So that's what I did. And as you know, the purpose of the Diary of a Single Woman is to really address those issues and have transparent conversation about those issues that keep women from being whole. I think that as women, sometimes we look for other things to complete us, and at the root of that are the things that have broken us apart, the things that have kept us from being whole. And so I wanted to talk about those issues, and I think that daddy issues is absolutely one of those things that really hinders us in our growth and development as women. If you think about it, as women, our interaction with our earthly father is our first relationship with a man. And so if that trust is not developed there, if that protection is not felt there, if that validation is not experienced there in that relationship with our earthly fathers, then we can expect that when we get into the real world of dating, we're gonna probably have some hiccups when we try to enter a relationship with a man when we've never experienced trust, protection, or validation. So I think that addressing those daddy issues really just helps us to be a better version of ourselves for ourselves, for the world, for the relationships that we are going to try to be in, and especially if we plan to procreate, for those children, so that we don't end up passing down our daddy issues to our children, making them have mommy issues. So I really wanted to do this topic. I know so many women who have daddy issues, and I know for me, I knew that I had daddy issues. I just didn't really realize the degree to which they were really impacting me and hindering me in relationships, and not just romantic relationships, in my friendships, in my work relationships, just overall. And so I really want to talk about that and speak transparently, in hopes that by me talking about my story and some of the ways that daddy issues were impacting me, I hope that other women can see themselves somewhere within that story. The other group of women I really want to target are the women who think that they don't have daddy issues. I'm not trying to make this seem like everybody in the whole entire world has daddy issues, but I think that there's this common misconception that because my father was around, he was in the home paying bills, or he was there every Christmas or whatever, that you're not exempt from daddy issues. It's possible to have a father who was active in your life and still have daddy issues. That's just the reality of the situation. And so I hope that through this series we can really engage in some conversation that just really moves us forward in our development as women. Well, with most of my videos, well, pretty much all my videos, I always have just a combination of, the word, because I'm a Christian. I have a little bit of counseling theory because by training I'm a counselor. I have a little bit of my personal story just because I feel as though that's beneficial. And so with this particular topic of daddy issues, I really want to open up and have this transparent conversation. And let me just start by saying this is in no way to badmouth or criticize my father. I love, honor, and respect my father. This is my story, and given the relationship that I had with my father, this is who I have become, and I want to have that transparent conversation. And I want to start by talking about my timeline with my father. Okay. So I'm now 31 years old. So my parents had me when I believe my father was 21 and my mom was like 28. Yeah, she was a cougar. I want to say around 4 or 5, they separated. And when I was 9, my father remarried. So during the separation, I would fly, up to Northern California. We lived in Southern California. He lived in Northern California. And I just remember from that age of the time he left the home, so about 5, all the way up until age 9, I just remember being daddy's little girl. I would look forward to spending the holidays or summers up there. And when it was time to come back to Southern California, I cried. It was always a waterworks show at the airport. I left my dad and I wanted to be with him. From about 9 until 17, so I began to develop. These were the roughest years. They were the roughest years just for any person going through that age range of developing and not understanding their bodies. But it also was the roughest time for my father and I. there were things that were going on behind the scenes between him and my mom, but I didn't know about them. I just experienced what felt like rejection. I began to develop, boys began to pay more attention to me, and my father began to pay less attention to me. I remember one time I went up there and I was wearing something my father didn't appreciate, and he told me, you know, if you're gonna be dressing like a hoe, you might as well stay down there with your mom. And my mom did not send me back there for 2 years. I did not see my father. So yeah, that was the age range between like 9 and 17. Then from like 18 until 22, let me just backtrack a little bit. During those years, it was a really emotional time because I loved my father and I really wanted his approval, and I wanted him to accept me. And so I did everything that I could. I would try to be what I thought was perfect for him so that I wouldn't upset him, so that we wouldn't go through these times of not speaking. Like, I just really wanted my father to love and accept me. I wanted him to tell me that I was pretty, like he would tell my little sister. I wanted him to tell me that he loved me. I wanted something from him. And so during that time, 9 to 17, I did not want to upset my father. So now we move forward to like 18 to 25. Let's go 18 to 22, because 18 to 22, those were my checkout years. I had decided, I had built up a wall, and I decided that emotionally I needed to protect myself from my father. And so if he didn't think I was good enough, if he wouldn't give me that validation, whatever it is, what it is, I didn't need it. And so I began to like build walls and shut my father out. But halfway through that time, my father, you know, finally came to the realization of, you know, some of the mistakes he made, and he set me down and he apologized to me. And I want to say so that was between like the ages of 23 and 25 where we began to rebuild our relationship. You know, he apologized, he acknowledged some of the ways that, you know, he could have been a better father. It was this whole big emotional conversation, and we really just began to try to work this relationship out. Now, you know, between ages 26 and 31, I'm currently 31, I would say my father and I are in a place of healing and repairing some of the bonds that had been broken or destroyed due to, you know, extended absences, or just things that were said that shouldn't have been said, or things that were done that could have been done differently. But it was during this time, going through all of these different emotions with my father, each time it changed a little bit of me. You know, I at one point was really emotional with my father, and I wore my heart on my sleeve. And then that's how I was with the world. I was very sensitive, and things that people would say would really break me. I wouldn't let them see that, but when I would go home, my mom got the whole show. And then, you know, then I became that person who needed to protect myself from my father. So I began to protect myself from the world. I had a chip on my shoulder. You couldn't tell me anything. My attitude was a little bad. It was pretty bad. And so I went through all of these different emotions during these very developmental years with my father, and it really just began to shape who I was as a woman and the way that I began to relate to men. I didn't trust men. I didn't think that I could. I didn't see a man. When I thought about my life, you know, and growing up, I did not include a man or a husband in that picture because there wasn't one you know, who was this monumental figure in my life. So I was like, okay, you know, I'm gonna grow up and I'll get a college degree. I'm gonna buy my home. I'm gonna have a career. And I never included a man or children for that matter. So yeah, that was my timeline, and that was kind of the foundation. So I just wanted to give you a kind of a foundation for the conversation that we're gonna have. So part 1 is gonna have some homework. The homework that I have for you all, and it's challenge by choice. Obviously this isn't mandatory. I have no way of making sure you do it. But I would challenge you all to create your own timeline. Take a look at what your own relationship with your father looked like, what his absences or his presence did, or what types of feelings or emotions it brought with you. In order for us to really get to the root of things, we have to dig up, right? We have to see what's under there and see what are those memories or those experiences that we went through that we kind of tried to block out, that life has just been happening to us so that now we don't really even remember them. So take the time and just try to dig into those experiences with your father and see what that relationship was like, and take a look at some of the things that you maybe have missing out on as you've been trying to navigate this thing called life.